Making service bananas soon was anything but easy, and luckily I did not do it alone. If I had, then it probably wouldn't really be anything because projects are all about collaboration, and that is one thing I learned. That's definitely one thing that everybody has taught me, that good collaborators don't just follow directions, they bring their own ideas and mindsets, and they bring their own aspects to it. That's what makes it so good. They don't just follow the direction. So that's one thing that they all taught me. But it wasn't just a teaching experience, though I did learn a lot. The project did teach me a lot. All of this was new to me. This is the first time I had ever done anything to this level. But having these special individuals surround me and get to work with me, and I get to work with them, has been massively, massively beneficial. So we've had individuals from the soundtrack, we've had an actor, and even the camera operator, and he also does the spoiler alert, he also does the soundtrack as well. We're going to take a look at what they have to say. This is a collaborative showcase that I'm actually putting together so we can actually break down the collaborative process and just kind of have some fun with the process that took place while we were making the movie. So let's get into that now.
Hello, my name is Tessa, and last summer I had the privilege of working with Remington. My experience overall was amazing. He had the perfect balance of professionalism and ensuring that everybody had a good time and was comfortable. And it was a really good experience seeing my friend step into a field he was so passionate with and just fully take it on and become his true self in that line of work.
This was my first time working on a movie soundtrack, and Remington did an excellent job of describing who the characters were and what the general feel was of the movie. And he was able to describe the scenes sometimes before we had the video, and gave us a really clear picture of what it was that he was hoping to hear from us. And we had a lot of freedom to experiment and try different things, but he did have a very clear vision of what he was looking for. But we were encouraged to try things on our own and see what we come up with. So in my opinion, it was an excellent collaboration.
So being behind the camera was intimidating at first since it was a brand new thing that I knew nothing about. The only exposure I've ever had to a camera was sending snaps to somebody, taking videos on vacation, maybe things that not nothing on the level of a whole movie. So we were all learning together, and the thing I was trying to learn the most was how to make this camera work, how to make these shots look good, and Rem showed me a lot of that. Especially the first night he showed me just the starters, how to turn the camera on, how to turn the mic on, and throughout the filming process he showed me stuff like the camera placement, how to pan a shot, how to create movement. And if I were to compare the first night that we were shooting to our final night, we were so efficient with it towards the end. We knew exactly what we wanted, and Rem was sharing his vision with us, especially me doing the shots on the camera. He had an idea of what he wanted to see, and he wasn't afraid to take ideas. If I had an idea, he wasn't afraid to entertain it, to talk about it, and sometimes we would try it sometimes.
In order to create the sonic identity for this movie, we had to work closely with Remington. He gave us a lot of different music to listen to for inspiration. We would deliver some ideas to him and try to go back and forth until we got closer to what the vision was. And again, he was always really open to things that we would come up with on our own. A lot of that stuff is making it in to the movie. So, yeah, it was really good experience. First time through for me on this type of a project, and it was an excellent experience. I look forward to doing more.
There was never a point where I went, "Oh man, we have to film today." I was excited to go out and film every time we were planning for it, every time we went out. Even if we had to take a long drive somewhere, I was always excited to get behind that camera and start filming.
A memory that I will always hold near and dear to my heart was when me, some of the crew, Remington, other actors, we all piled into the car to go off to a new set. And the whole time we were listening to music, laughing, making jokes, and that energy carried through into the filming process. And the whole experience was filled with just laughter, and it was an amazing time.
So I think the part I enjoyed most about working on set with Rem was his organization. He always had a game plan for something. We never went to a location. We never went somewhere that we weren't really meant to be at. Like, he had an idea for every shot, where it was going to be at what time, what we were going to do that day. And I kind of laughed the first time that we were shooting, because he took out this big checklist, and he wrote in the really small lettering of just bullet points of everything he wanted to do that day. And I was looking at it, and I was like, man, this guy Rem's gonna overwhelm himself. This is too much. This is a lot of stuff. And it ended up not being like that at all. He knew exactly what he was doing, and that was something that I enjoyed a lot. There was never a day where we went somewhere and was like, well, what are we doing today? We always had a plan of what we were going to achieve that day, and he always had a plan, offset too, where he was like, I'm going to edit this today. I'm going to have this to you guys by this time. Especially, since I'm part of the soundtrack as well, having that sense of organization was really appreciated.
Zach lived the double life on the project. He did the camera stuff and he did the soundtrack stuff, as we know. That right there is outstanding. He deserves more praise than what he gets, because he has helped me more than I've helped him. As I might have said already, I might not have. If it wasn't said, it needs to be said now. Or if I already did say it, then I'll say it again. That kind of thing. He has helped me immensely, learned so much about the camera, and me and him learned side by side. I don't even do soundtrack stuff, but I learned a lot even about the soundtrack just hanging around him. He's very knowledgeable. And same thing with Rob. Rob has so much to bring to the table. He is just leagues ahead of us, and I'm so happy to have him a part of it.
The moment that felt the most special to me was definitely the scene where Daniel and his brother are going into the shopping mart. That's the first time that you hear the music in full gear with the video, and it really brings it to life, and it sets the tone for what to be expecting throughout the rest of the movie. So that's definitely the most impactful to me.
One of my favorite things about the project was getting to work with everybody, but also just the downtime we've had, not even when we were actually rolling the cameras or recording audio or making the soundtrack. It was always the moments that were in between the actions and the rolling and all that stuff. Getting to just bounce ideas off people. Some of the greatest times I've ever had was bouncing the ideas off people when we were in between takes. Zach specifically, I know a lot of the time we've had was us looking at each other and going, what would be funny? What if we did that? Or what if it was this way? We made sure to stick to the screenplay very tightly, but we also looked at it in a very loose light, and we're like, hey, we're going to add this. This is going to work. But we're also going to make sure that we have to ensure that it's still, in character, and it's also with the continuity of the film. We're not just getting completely, out of place with it. It was just those moments. It was the undocumented stuff. The stuff that was documented very poorly. That was the moments I really liked.
So the most fun and memorable moment of filming this movie was definitely the trunk scene. So I'm laying in the trunk of Remington's car, and the shot is pointed outside of the trunk. So I'm kind of just laying back there with the camera.
I cannot bring up favorite memories without bringing up the time that the cameraman got into the trunk to get the perfect angle for the shot.
And Tessa and Remington, Amelia and Daniel, are looking down this trunk that's supposed to have all these banana peels in it.
And honestly, I think that's very telling for how close we all felt to Remington, because I know for a fact that I would not have done that for just anybody.
And Tessa she's making this. She was really good at this part. She was looking down in the trunk with this, disgusted, confused face, like, why are there bananas in your trunk, dude? And I just couldn't help but laugh because I'm just laying in this trunk with her looking at me all like confused and whatnot. And of course, Daniel Remington is smiling like he's proud to have all these bananas in this trunk. And we're I say action, we're filming, and I just couldn't help but laugh. And I definitely ruined a couple of takes because I just couldn't help it. And Rem was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, sorry, I can't help it." And yeah, that was definitely the most fun I had.
So that shows the type of leader that Remington was for us.
How do I think the sound elevates video storytelling? I can sum that up with one word: Jaws, the movie Jaws. The E and F note played by those cellos and basses, the movie would not be what it was without that soundtrack. I am biased because I'm a musician, but I think that the sound is probably one of the most influential parts of a movie and will always be uh, the most important in some fashion. Of course, video is pretty important with a movie, so we'll give it second place.
Zach and Rob doing the soundtrack are just, they work so extremely well together. Rob's very technical with the mixing and stuff, but it's all done with, in good intent. And same with Zach. Their intentions with it, their whole intentions and approach to the soundtrack was never to just do anything 50%. They always did everything 110%. Because, as we talk about all the time, what's the point of being sloppy? And they would never release anything sloppy. They definitely pushed me to be better. Every time that they would update me on something and show me something, I would be like, wow, this soundtrack stuff's coming together like a puzzle. It was always exciting. I always enjoyed being invited over to Rob's studio, sitting down with Zach and Rob, and them displaying, what they had worked on for the week. It was magical to get to see that and then picture how it's gonna fit on there. Then actually placing it on it is just, it blows my mind every time on how well just collaborating between the director and the soundtrack people in that department. It's just wild. It's magic. That's what it is.
Rem was really good at guiding me through each shot. If I was struggling with something, he wasn't afraid to step in and say, "Hey, try it this way," or maybe do this. And for example, there was a couple of really difficult shots for me where I'm squatted down and I have to stand up and rotate to get this real cinematic looking panning shot. And I just couldn't get the movement right. It was a nightmare for me. And Rem took the camera and he was willing to show me, "Hey, try moving this way, or start from this point." And it really helped throughout the entire filming process. There was tons of times where stuff like that happened, especially with lighting, ISO. He always asked me if we were in focus. He was really consistent with that stuff, and he always, after we did a take, he would always take a look at the shot, make sure everything was right. And it was really good to see that consistency.
The tools that we used were guitars, bass, a lot of MIDI plugins from Logic Pro. That's the software that I use. And our hands and voices. That's it.
I did feel like I was part of the storytelling throughout the entire filming process, and sometimes even off the filming process. Rem and I stayed in contact a lot throughout the entire thing. And from doing the camera shots to being an actor in it, I felt like we all bonded together and became great friends. I never really talked to anyone that was part of the project before we started doing the project. And we're obviously not professional experienced actors, so we had to build everything from nothing. We started to get the idea of what Rem saw and wanted, and it became a mutual goal for us. And there's a couple of times where we just did a shot and something just didn't sound right because from script to filming things might change. They might sound different, and what's on paper might not come out in video. And we had to improvise a few times, especially one that comes to mind. I think we had to improvise a few times during the shoe stockroom scene where Rem's talking to Veronica, and some of the things just weren't really translating from paper to video. And we all were sharing ideas and trying to make it work. So that's how I felt like I was part of the storytelling.
An acting performance that stands out to me is Tessa. Getting to work with her, and I'm so happy she accepted the role as Amelia because she did so well. There was never a point where I thought, man, maybe we didn't pick the right people for everybody was a perfect fit and brought that own uh, magic charm to these characters. It was kind of handing them the soul of these characters and saying, hey, this is your responsibility. And they all took it very seriously. And they all wanted to make sure that if the character was quirky, they were quirky. If the character was serious, and this whole scene, these couple scenes that played out need to be serious, they did that. They took up that responsibility, and everybody did phenomenal. But Tessa, she was an outstanding performance in my opinion. It was super easy to be Daniel around her because I could play off her. She just had that energy and vibe about her when she was, in character, and it was great. And even off screen and out of character, she was just a joy to be around. Same with Zach and everybody. Like I said, I talked about my favorite moments were the in between moments. It was such a great opportunity to get to work with people. I love working with many new people and just collaborating with people that don't really think like I do, because then I have something to learn from them and they maybe have something to learn from me if they're open to it.
Our approach to scoring this movie was really pretty straightforward. We knew that the protagonist was quirky and odd and somehow still very relatable, and we were just going to try to make music that reflected his personality and matched the feel of the movie. So we hope that's what we did.
Now, one thing I learned while helping to shoot the movie was, great results come from hard work and patience. Personally, I like to get things done as quickly as I can, as soon as possible, so I can go do other things. I have a lot of things that I want to do, and I want to get them done as quickly as possible, which is not always the best way to go about things if you want good results. And this movie, it's taken a long time to come out, and that's a really good thing, because that means you're going to get a better result, put more time and effort into it, and it showed me that if I apply that to some of the stuff that I want to do, I can end up with a better result than if I just rush through it. If I had to describe Rem's directing style in one word, it would definitely be focused. He always had an idea of what he wanted to do that day, where it was going to be at what time, checklist of what he was going to accomplish in this time span he had in mind. And he never let any of us get sidetracked. He never lost focus of what we were doing. And there's never a point where we were clueless on what had to be done, because when it came down to it, Rem was locked in on how to resolve a problem when it came up. For example, like if the dice were hanging in a particular way in one shot from his rearview mirror in his car, he made sure it was in that same spot whenever we did another shot where that would be in it. So everything was consistent, everything was focused. So that's why I would describe it as, a very focused directing style.
Working with Emma was also an experience that I've not had. I have not had somebody to, I explain something and I get just that. But with that being said, I also got this great creative partner, because not only did she give me exactly what I needed, when it came to props for the actual film. I think one of the best things she created was the book at the end of the movie, There's even an Easter egg on it. I absolutely love that prop. It was such good thinking, and I know she really enjoys doing book stuff and book covers. So that prop is very special to me. But to go back to what I was saying, she gave me what I was always looking for: the assets, the graphics, the props. But when I would explain it to her and she'd give me that, she'd say, she was never afraid to speak up about it. She'd go, well, this looks like it could be moved around to be better. And she'd go, hold on, let me do it real quick. And then she would go do it. And I would be like, you know what? I'm glad you did that, because it is so much better. It is so much better. I don't know how you couldn't see that. She was never afraid to speak up and just tell me, hey, listen, this looks kind of weird. It can be better. Let's improve upon it. That part's really cool.
Overall, I would be extremely privileged and honored to have the opportunity to work with Remington again. It will be a summer that I will never forget, and I will always hold near and dear to my heart. And just seeing him in his element is truly inspiring. He is passionate and driven, and I believe that this shows through to his work. Thank you, Rem.
You know, I would absolutely work on another project with Remington. He was a great director, writer, producer, editor, everything that, you know, makes a movie great. All the people that are involved, he was 9 out of 10 of them. He did pretty much every single role you could imagine. He took on a lot of responsibility. If he wasn't sure on something, he wasn't afraid to ask for help or delegate that task to someone else. See if they have any inputs on anything. All good qualities of a you know, what I'd imagine would be a good director. So I think putting all that together, that's what made this project great, and why I would work on another project in a heartbeat.
I think all in all, there was so much to this movie. There were so many different layers. It was so intricate. And it was for that reason that I'm super excited to also be working with some people. We have a great working relationship we're going to continue on. And also to be bringing in new people that have new ideas and fresh mindsets. Because like I said, everybody needs to bring something to the table. When that happens, the project is always at its best. Always. I have no doubts about it. Last day shooting. Zach, how you feeling about that?
I don't know. It's
Putting you on the spot, dude. Because this isn't awkward at all.
Sweet, yeah.
Bittersweet, dude. Bittersweet. Last time he's going to touch that camera, probably. Probably not. We'll be back.